Crucifixions, the cross. What comes to mind when you think of these two statements? The historical truth about crucifixion in the ancient world, when Rome was occupying Israel, when we the Jews were in Israel, Rome occupied Israel. We're thinking back 2,000, even more than 2,000 years ago. What is the historical truth about crucifixions? Let's begin. The historical truth is that crucifixions were an expensive punishment that the Romans would do to criminals, those not just for double parking their camels. You didn't get crucified for stealing eggs in the marketplace or apples and bananas. You were crucified only if you were a rebel rouser, someone who was possibly willing to cause an insurrection, or claiming to be a Messiah. Now, what a lot of Christians and people that are messianic backgrounds don't know is that in the ancient world before and after Jesus or Yeshua, that there were many failed messiahs before and after who claimed to be the Messiah and were crucified. Some were crucified, some had beheadings, some were just drowned, some were killed in the worst ways possible. But crucifixions were given at such a high rate within the Roman occupation in Israel. The historians of that time, for example, Josephus, Philo, Roman historians, and even the church fathers talk about Roman persecution of the crucifixion. Now, the truth of the matter is, crucifixion, when these people were crucified, criminals or deemed criminals, were crucified, they would not let you have clothes on. You would be completely as the day you were born, completely naked. It was a humiliating death. You would be up there on the cross, naked as the day you were born. You would sit on that cross, stand or be held up on that cross with the beams. You'd have to lift your feet on the beam below to keep yourself from your lungs and your stomach and your diaphragm from collapsing. So you have to keep lifting your feet up. It was excruciating. This would go on for days and days, up to a week, even sometimes longer than a week. Now, they died from asphyxiation. They died from tiring out after days of being on that cross. They would defecate on themselves. They would go to the bathroom on themselves. This was humiliating. They would present themselves out in the open where everybody can view them, their bodies hanging there. As an example, the Romans would put them out there as an example that if you mess with us, this is what's going to happen to you. We're going to embarrass you and put you out on display like an animal. Then it gets even better. The Romans would not take you off the cross when you die. Oh, no. Historians say very clearly, especially Josephus, they would leave you on the cross and let your body rot, and they would let the vultures and the crows and the scavengers eat your body on the cross. You would not get a burial. So, crucifixion, historically, was a brutal and horrifying way to die. And there was great reason for crucifixions. It was a way for the Romans to put you and humiliate you and let the rest of the Jews know that if you try and go against us, this will be you next. Now, the Roman historians and Jewish historians of that time say that during that period of the ancient world, 2,000 years ago, before and after, the Romans crucified over 100,000 Jews. Think about that for a little bit. Over 100,000 Jews were crucified. It is said that they crucified so many Jews and so many people that they at one time ran out of lumber. They ran out of wood, and they had to order more wood from Lebanon. So this was something that was a big deal. It's not exclusive to the Gospels. It's not something extraordinary in the Gospels. This was something that was very, very public, very known for very, very serious crimes. If you claimed to be the Messiah, which meant that you were going to be the king of Israel, and that the Roman occupation would be no more, because this is what Israel has always understood the Messianic age to be. The king over Israel. That means the occupation, the Roman occupation, will be gone. So the Romans were very nervous at the time. They would triple their guards. They were very nervous that there would be some kind of insurrection or war. So they would arm themselves, especially during Pesach, Passover time. They would arm themselves and be prepared, because there was a tradition among many Jews that the Messiah would come at Passover time. So, crucifixion is something that was beyond cruel. It was an unbelievable way of showing and humiliating the person who went against Rome. You would stay up there for days in and day out, completely naked, going on yourself, not being buried. Scavengers would eat your body. You would not get a burial. It was a horrible, horrible way to die. So I was asked to make a video to discuss this. Josephus, incredibly, speaks about walking with some centurions. He's walking along the road and he sees the row of Jews crucified on crosses. He's walking down this road with crucifixions on the right and left of him. And he comes across two friends of his, shocked and puzzled. He goes, "My God, these are my friends. Can you please get them down for me? These are my friends." It says that the centurions, that the Romans took them down. Can you imagine walking down a road and just seeing two of your buddies on a cross? This was a horrible, horrible, horrible execution of rebel rousers, insurrectionists, claimed messiahs. This was a way to show you that if you mess with Rome, you are going to be humiliated and on display and not have a proper burial, which to a Jew would be beyond disrespect, because we are against, based on Torah, human sacrifice. We are against the abomination of hanging a Jew on a tree, or an Israelite was not to be hung on a tree and stay there to rot. That's in the Torah. So I hope this was helpful. You could look into this some more. It's good to do your research and study. We study the ancient world. That's something typical of learning about the ancient world. It's good to know the historical truth about a lot of things. So I suggest that not only study Tanakh, but study the ancient world. Study Josephus, Philo, the ancient sources, to find out what was really going on back then. Shalom.